little bit about where we're going, what we're trying to do. Lisa?
Yeah, we have a recommendation at one point from Ryan to tackle target shooting, group size, and right-of-way as next steps. I didn't hear any dissent, any issues, and I don't know that that's something you necessarily want to vote on. That's up to you as a group. General nods maybe, is that the way to proceed?
Well, I think that is definitely something that we've talked about. I heard another suggestion during the break that maybe we take a look at the alternatives and try to start dealing with those as much as we can right now, because that's going to take some time. And what we're tasked to do in a few hours is pretty much impossible. But we need to try and make some progress on the alternatives at some point. So I'm kind of thinking that we can include the target shooting right-of-ways in the discussion of the alternative right-of-ways. Okay, go ahead.
And I've identified that target shooting for the issue of alternatives for recreation in the shutdown unit. And I guess we could tackle that whole thing. And then target shooting would be right on the board.
Okay. So if that's okay with everybody, I think maybe that's the direction we might ought to take next, Lisa.
Okay, target shooting was number 3, and that is an excellent suggestion. Cooney pointed out there were 3 places, page 212, 13, and 15, I think is what Ryan just said, where you can find information on that.
Okay. So do we want to start with those particular ones, or do we want to start out with just going through the alternative document right now? Jamie?
Can you just identify what that term means? I mean, target shooting, what exactly does that mean?
Which term, the alternative?
No,
Target
the
shooting.
target shooting.
Target shooting, sure.
Can you
Gary,
define
do
what
you
that
want
is?
to?
I was looking at Miles, I thought he probably, there's a difference between hunting and then just target shooting, and I know that.
Target shooting is where people, and it's either you go to a designated shooting range or you go into an undeveloped one. Oops, sorry, I went over, I think. A lot of around the West on public land, people go out and just shoot randomly. And what happens a lot of times, there's discarded boxes and ammunition. They shoot couches, they shoot refrigerators, and in this case, it appears that maybe there's some, shooting the petroglyphs and things like that. And so that's a hard one, because you also have hunting in there, which is permitted, and then you've got to make sure, and then you also have safety zones and a lot around the area. But target shooting is just people going out and just setting something up and shooting. One of the big issues we've had around the country is this tannerite that blows up. That people shoot that out there a lot of times and do some things that destroy some of the area, the vegetation. So it's a tough issue, but it's also one where how do you regulate that? And how do you regulate that versus permitted hunting and those kind of things?
So do we say target shooting is anything but hunting an animal?
I would think as long as you had a hunting permit, it'd be okay, but, because if you close that area, and the guy happens to just want to sight in his rifle, make sure it's on, is that target shooting or is he hunting, It becomes convoluted.
Yeah, Jamie.
No, that was.
Maybe just a little intent. The intent is not to close any area to where people can take their guns and stuff like that. It was really just to provide safety in certain areas, like at campgrounds where there's a high number of people. It's like this just doesn't seem like a good mix. we're trying to avoid damage to archaeological resources. Nothing to do with hunting, not trying to regulate guns, not trying to do anything like that, just trying to provide some guidance on these places we would not want people shooting guns. So I think that's the bigger picture is what we were trying to do, not get into a guns discussion.
Well, if you look at the front page of the document, the first thing is talked about there is management actions by alternatives. Is there any question anybody has about the four alternatives that we're trying to address on each subject? Maybe we could just go to fire management, and if somebody has some input on the goals, objectives, or the management actions as far as fire management is concerned, if you want to make a recommendation, you know, whether alternative A, B, C, or D fits your
Well, I want,
you go ahead, Gail.
to make sure I understand, on alternative A, when you say no similar action, from yesterday, that means it's just basically the status quo, and so it's referring to
What's happening right now?
what's happening right now. It's not really, so there's no comparative to something else. Similar action means it's just the way things are right
There's
now.
not a specific decision in the 2008 plan
Okay, yeah, right.
that is same as what the other alternatives are saying.
So in other words, the way that they describe that is the plan is silent on it. It just doesn't address it. So we took the opportunity of this to address that issue. Because it came up either during scoping or planning or,
So if you wanted alternative A, you're saying just leave things as they are under the current management.
yes, and that's generally true.
Okay.
Okay, anybody have any comments?
Yeah, so if I look at alternative D and on fire management, you see prescribed burning won't be allowed during migrating bird, or won't be allowed during tamarack nesting season. The hard part is, when are these dates? And if they're all different dates, then is there really ever going to be any prescribed burnings in these areas? So it'd be nice to know what kind of dates we're talking about. Is it during fire season? So that you can really do some fire suppression and mitigation in these areas in the monitoring. So it's hard to say I like alternative E when you don't have those dates in there. But I don't know if you guys know when migrating bird nesting season is, or when habitat or wetland. I don't know, all of them have different time periods, it looks like to me.
And they do overlap a lot, and sometimes the window's like 2 days. It can be that, I mean, you got all these overlapping depending on what you have in the area. You guys would know better than I would in my former life. There are times when you have, if you're in an area with goshawks and you got other raptors and stuff like that, it can narrow that window. And with prescribed burn, you're looking for conditions, and you've got to have the right conditions to burn. And finding those two to match is difficult. My organization, I don't want prescribed burns anymore because they never get done.
Gordon? I want to go back to the shooting question about the fire shooting, but I can wait.